Good evening and welcome to the Pittsford Board of Education meeting. If you could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Second.
Thanks, Renee and Ted. Any edits? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Well, this is our favorite part of a Board of Education meeting, and it's Pittsford Pride tonight. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Pirro.
So this is one of the times where I actually address all of you and not the Board of Education. I think it's really important to address everyone here tonight because you're our pride, and that's why we have Pittsford Pride. You make our district very prideful. Now, because you're here, that means you have to stay for the entire meeting, which will probably be 2 hours. But my guess is you won't. So I will share with you, when I do make my comments tonight at the end of the evening, I am going to reference Pittsford Pride, and I am going to reference that we need more people like you. Can't thank you enough, all of you, from the bottom of my heart for being such amazing people and amazing contributors. The other thing, before I acknowledge why we're here and all of that, I do want to share with you that this has been a really tough year, right? It's been tough on so many levels. And I don't want to take anything away from all of our prior Pittsford Pride Award winners. But it really speaks volumes to you this year when things are so hard in so many different ways. So I think about like everything we've been through this year with masking, not masking, testing, not testing. I think about the jobs, the impact on families, so many characteristics that are negative that are associated with what we've been through. Sometimes it's hard to find that light at the end or the light to guide us to the end. And our recipients tonight, you really are the light that has guided us to the end. And I can't thank you enough because it's your character, it's your citizenship, it's your goodwill that has really allowed us to maintain our Pittsford pride because you've helped so many during a real tough year. So know how much I respect all of you, how much all of us in this room adore you, and how much we appreciate the goodwill that you've done this year. It really speaks volumes to your family. It speaks volumes to you as individuals and to all of us that are in this room. So just like to start out with a round of applause for the people that are here. I would also like to thank our administrators, our principals, our teachers, our nominating staff members, our family, our friends, our special guests for being here tonight, and most importantly to the recipients that make the lives of others better by going out of your way to help people and to make our environment filled with citizenship and filled with character. Tonight's ceremony will be shared on the district website, and it will also be on our YouTube channel, so you're all going to be famous. Make sure you like each other and do all that, forward it, post it. Tonight's really special, not only for the reasons I shared earlier, but when you think about the size of our school district, we have about 5,700-ish students. That's 5,700. And of the 5,700 students that we have in our district, 27 are recognized. So you can do, who wants to do that math for me? Anyone? What percentage are you in? It's really amazing. You got here tonight because of a charge that the Board of Education gave me to find a way to recognize our best citizens, our best leaders in our district. So each building, all 9 of our buildings, were tasked with seeking out individuals that they felt exemplified citizenship, and then they had to document why. Then building level committees convened, and they decided, and I'm certainly not an easy decision, but they decided on who they felt right now was the right candidate to receive this recognition. Now, beyond tonight's recognition, students will be recognized in different ways throughout the 9 buildings. This will range from bulletin boards to morning announcements, names on a plaque, or working with the principal to decide on a special privilege or a gift, and that might range from free time to a parking pass to spirit wear to being a class helper to being a speaker to other classes around citizenship. And parents and guardians' responsibility, if you read, I'm not sure if Deb sent this out to you in the small print, high school principals or high school parents, you'll be giving your children a car. Middle school, I believe it's ice cream and a dinner of your choice. But you always have if you get older, the gifts get bigger. In elementary school, I believe it's a trip to Disney. So I know it takes a toll on all of us, but we're here for a reason. And just want to thank you for acknowledging all of that. But very sincerely, for everyone that's here, I'm hoping this recognition is enough. And I know it is, because you've been doing the right thing without the recognition for so long. So our hats are off to you, and really appreciate you being who you are, and families for being who you are. So as far as tonight's process is concerned, as each student's name is called, we're going to ask that one person to stand up, and then we're going to say a lot of nice things about you. So we're going to read what was submitted to the committee, and when that person is done, you're going to have a seat. We're going to do a clap. We'll do a golf clap for that person, quick one, and then we're going to move on to the second person, and we're going to do that till all 9 are called. At the end, family and friends are welcome to come up and take as many pictures as you'd like. We're going to have all the candidates come up behind the Board of Education. We're going to have a district photographer take pictures. We're going to post the pictures, and it's a time for you to take yours as well. So more specifically, we're going to start with our board president, then our board vice president, and then myself. We're each going to read 3 candidates. Everyone get it? Pretty simple, right? So I just want to say it's my pleasure to be part of this evening with all of you, and it's my pleasure to recognize President Mrs. Amy Thomas to come up to start us out.
Good evening, everyone. This is an awkward kind of way to look at everyone, but welcome. This really is a night that we all celebrate at the board table. Thank you for being here. We thank you for being the citizens that you all are. So I have the pleasure of reading the first 3 recipients. My first recipient is Natalie Sincata. Natalie is in 12th grade at Mendon High School, and she's been nominated by Ann Moyo, Mrs. Quattrachaki, and Mr. Domrose. Natalie Sincata is a thoughtful, compassionate, dedicated, and hardworking individual who enriches the lives of those she meets. She's a star on and off the stage, and as one teacher described her, Natalie is a gem who is very much deserving of the Pittsford Pride Award. Mrs. Moyo shared the following. Natalie Sincata is a student in my English 12 visibility course. During my time as her teacher, I've known her to be an incredible light, bringing complex topics like gender, race, ability, and power to the table in ways that illuminate her peers and my understanding. Natalie is deeply intelligent, well-read, empathetic, and above all, kind. In what has been a difficult educational year for all of us, she consistently rises to the challenge, always setting the bar for what active intellectual engagement looks like. However, what makes Natalie so singular is that she never intimidates. She always invites. It's not enough for her that she is interested in ideas and their implications. Instead, she wants others to share in her inquiries. I'm frequently wowed when I listen in on small group conversations that Natalie's a part of, as her simple presence tends to invigorate even the sleepiest of first period seniors. We all benefit from her layered perspective, which stems from her varied fields of interest. I can't believe all of these, including art, history, fashion, politics, and neuroscience. Finally, I'm nominating Natalie because in a world where division has become the norm, she maintains an openness to others that never wavers. Many adults, including myself, could and should learn a thing or two from how she engages with divisive subject matter. Ultimately, as an educator, it gives me faith in our future that humans like Natalie will be at the helm. From Mrs. Quattrocchi, Natalie embodies what it means to be an artist, as all aspects of art interest her. She's an outstanding, award-winning artist in a variety of mediums. Her art reflects the forgotten stories of people throughout history that interest her. Natalie has been an active participant in class critiques, giving other students suggestions on how to proceed with their art making. For all of the above reasons and many more, Mendon is proud to recognize Natalie Sincata as our Pittsford Pride recipient. Congratulations, Natalie. My next recipient is Alexandra Comerford. Hi, Alexandra. I've heard you like to be called Lexi, is that right? Okay, good. Lexi is in 8th grade, and she comes to us from Calkins Road Middle School. She was nominated by the 8th grade Yellow Team. The Pittsford Pride Award is designed to recognize students who are positive leaders and role models for their peers. Lexi Comerford truly lives up to the high standards set forth for this prestigious award. Starting at a new school is never easy, and doing so partway through your 8th grade year can be especially challenging. However, as with everything Lexi does, she embraced the challenge with optimism, hard work, and a smile. Lexi immediately demonstrated her ability to connect with others in a thoughtful and friendly manner, bringing out the best in those around her. Each morning in the Yellow Team hallway at Calkins, you can be sure to find Lexi greeting her teachers and peers with a smile, starting off the day on a positive note. Since starting at Calkins, Lexi has been enjoying all of her teachers and says the other students have been so kind and welcoming. Lexi moved to Pittsford with her parents and 3 younger siblings and likes to spend free time with her friends or babysitting because she likes being around younger kids. Lexi says she tries to always keep in mind that everyone has bad days, and she wants to try and be understanding and supportive to others. She believes it's harder to not be nice than to be kind. Lexi is also an academic role model. For example, when she started at Calkins, her English class was several weeks into a research project. Her teacher made some modifications, but Lexi embraced the challenge, going above and beyond and completing all the research outlined in the project, and doing so in half the time. She did this by focusing her time and energy both in and out of the class. All the while, she modeled the diligence and intellectual curiosity critical for success in school and in life. Our Midnight Way is about creativity, resilience, mindfulness, and spirit. Lexi models all of those qualities every day, and her positive impact on our school has been felt since Lexi joined the Calkins family in late fall. Lexi's positive outlook, caring demeanor, and leadership by example is all grounded in her genuine empathy for those around her. She embodies all that the Pittsford Pride is meant to recognize, and we're so proud to nominate her for this wonderful honor. Congratulations, Lexi. And my third nominee is Aiden Goff. Hi, Aiden. How are you? It's good to see you. Aiden comes to us from Jeff Road Elementary, and he's in 5th grade. Is that right? Okay, I'm just making sure. You were nominated by Mrs. Kokinda, Mrs. Steely, Miss Candeas, and Mrs. Kane. Aiden Goff is a hard-working, honest and kind, dog-loving hockey player. That's a mix. One day, while his teacher was helping the student sitting next to him, this is my favorite thing in the world when I read this, Aiden chimed in saying, "I don't like doing it either, but I just focus and I get it done the best I can. Then at least I'm done." This demonstrated how Aiden is not only a true role model as a student, but also an encouraging and caring classmate. During class discussions, when Aiden talks about his family members, he speaks about how his parents are really good at their jobs. Mom and Dad, how about that? And how his brother is his best brother, is the best brother. He looks shocked. When Aiden reflects on his friends, he confidently reports that his friends are kind and caring. Aiden speaks of others in a way that reveals how much respect and compassion he has for others, as well as how he sees the good in others. This year, Aiden was chosen to be a safety who helps with the flag at the end of the day. Because he's such a trustworthy and reliable 11-year-old, Aiden is a smart choice for many student jobs in the classroom, too. But on the hockey rink, he takes his responsibility as a goalie just as seriously. We know this because Aiden describes his passion for his sport when we share news from home every week. If you ask any teacher in the building about Aiden, they smile immediately as they think of his truly kind and patient demeanor. Mrs. Steele said, "I've watched Aiden Goff come into the library since he was in first grade. He always has been polite, engaging, kind, and funny. He always wants to tell me a great story about what he's reading or what's happening at home, especially a great scout trip, hockey match, or recently his new puppy. He's polite and patient and kind to all of his peers. He's quick to help out anytime it's needed and does it with a smile and a big heart." Aiden's fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Kane, says, "He is a thoughtful student who always makes a point to say hello. He truly makes all feel welcomed and appreciated at Jeff Road. He genuinely seems to enjoy school, and Jeff Road can always count on him to show off school pride on Spirit Days. We're going to miss Aiden greatly as he moves up to middle school, but he's made a lasting impression on his teachers and classmates at Jeff Road Elementary. Congratulations, Aiden." So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Vice President Aresti to read the next three candidates.
Hi, everyone. My first recipient tonight is Ingrid Hiesel. Where are you? Hi, Ingrid. How are you? Put all these over here. So Ingrid is from Park Road Elementary School, and she was nominated by Mrs. Scheidt, Ms. Rojas, and Mr. Caparco. So let's see what they had to say about you. You're going to tell me if it's true, right? All right. We would like to nominate Ingrid Hiesel for the Pittsford Pride because she is an enthusiastic student who is thoughtful, generous, responsible, and reflective. She's the kind of student who could run the class if it were ever needed. Could you? Ingrid is always looking to make sure that she is not leaving anyone out of an activity or conversation. She offers to help her peers on a daily basis, but tries to challenge herself. Ingrid regularly reflects on behaviors she has had in the past and how she would like to improve on them, whether it's about being a better helper around the house, better sister, or better friend. Ingrid is a year-round safety patrol and consistently tries to demonstrate the behaviors that are expected and appreciated at school. She helps other students show their best as well. Mrs. Scheidt says, "I have seen her be a good student role model in science class by being a good listener and is always helping her group members with things they may need extra help with." Mr. Caparco, Ingrid's PE teacher, agrees Ingrid is a crucial part of our school community. She models positive behaviors by accepting all students and goes out of her way to make sure their peers feel a part of the school community, regardless of their skill level, personality, attitude, and beliefs. She is genuinely interested in working with and helping students with disabilities by getting them involved in initiating interactions to make them feel accepted. We are lucky to have her at Park Road and appreciate the positive impact she has on our school community. Not only is Ingrid a team player and friend, she's also a hard worker in the classroom. She completes her work thoroughly and on time. She isn't afraid to ask for clarification if something doesn't initially make sense to her, and she's always ready to help classmates who is struggling. Ms. Rojas, Ingrid's math teacher, says Ingrid is a conscientious student. She puts in her best effort. I love having her in class. We're so happy to nominate Ingrid for the Pittsford Pride. Her teachers and peers alike agree that she has had an incredibly positive impact at Park Road Elementary School. Congratulations. My second recipient this evening is Sophia Laychee. Hi, Sophia.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Let's see what people had to say about you. She's from Barker Road Middle School, and she was nominated by Miss Simons and Miss Reed. Sophia demonstrates all of the core values of our school. Kindness, responsibility, integrity immediately come to mind when you think of her. Sophia's kindness extends to all, teachers, students, and all those she encounters. She is sure to have a positive greeting for everyone she sees throughout the day. As a school leader, Sophia uses her voice to speak out for equity and inclusion and treats all members of the school community with the same respect and fairness. She has been a web leader and serves in the school's Inclusivity Council. She has been known to volunteer her time for things outside normal expectations, never seeking special recognition. If observing a class, you may see Sophia encouraging her peers or selflessly helping a classmate with a difficult concept. A true leader should she makes the days of those around her more pleasant. A Pittsford Pride Award winner is supposed to be a role model for other students. Everyone who knows Sophia would describe her as such. She is a kid that encourages others to do the right thing. She approaches every day with a positive attitude, an attitude that her peers tend to reflect. If she is in one of your classes, chances are her positivity has enhanced the class climate. In the halls, you will see her smile, even through her mask. I see it now. And feel the positive energy that she exudes. Sophia has been at Barker Road Middle School during one of the most trying times we've had to endure, the COVID years, when so many had given in to complaining about things we can't do or lamenting opportunities lost. We have always been able to see optimism in Sophia. Sophia brings the type of positivity to the school that we should all strive to emulate, and she does it with grace and humility. It is her genuine empathy, respect, and kindness that make her a perfect recipient of the Pittsford Pride Award. Congratulations. My final recipient tonight is Iwin Lee. Iwin, where are you? Hi, Iwin. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm great. She was nominated by Mr. Puma and Mr. Winter. Iwin epitomizes what it means to be a student leader. She is responsible, flexible, and most importantly, she takes initiative. And I've read this, and I can tell you she has taken initiative. I will soon tell you. As president of Sutherland's Tri-M National Music Honor Society, Iwin heard about an opportunity to mentor young music students. With the help of other Tri-M members, she started a mentoring program for beginning instrumentalists and vocalists wanting a little extra help. Iwin took on this program as her project and passion. In the beginning, she wrote a letter to the school music teachers and parents, notifying them about the program. This was our first attempt at this type of program at Sutherland, so there was no template for Iwin to follow. She set up the lessons and room schedules, as well as communicated with the parents to keep everyone informed. Parents filled out a form to schedule times for their children to meet with the Sutherland High School Tri-M members. At present time, there are 25 beginners signed up and about 15 Tri-M students working with those students on an average of twice a month on Tuesdays and Wednesdays after school. This has been a wonderful experience, not only for the beginners, but also for the amazing Tri-M student instructors. IWIN has led this program from its inception and has cemented a program which we're sure will carry on annually from this point forward. Talk about forging a legacy. That's amazing. This is not the only way IWIN has positively affected life at Sutherland High School. At the end of last year, she submitted an application to start a new club, the Statistics Club. She found a group of interested students and secured a faculty member to serve as club advisor. She now serves as club president and has worked with the members to submit a project to the American Statistical Association Data Visualization Poster Competition. Whew. Above all else, IWIN sets an example of service, leadership, and kindness. She has a bright future ahead of her, and she will no doubt continue to make a difference in the lives of others. Congratulations, IWIN, on being a Pittsford Pride Award recipient. Welcome back, Superintendent Pirro.
Sophia, I have to tell you, I rarely get texts from teachers, and I got a text the other night saying, make sure that Sophia gets this recognition, please. So your job is to find out who texted me. Okay, then you can just email me, and then I'll say you solved the clue, okay? You solved the mystery. This is the first time that's happened, so you have other people that didn't nominate you that really wanted you to get this as well. So it's really interesting this year. I have 3 fifth graders, and we've already had 2 fifth graders, so we have a great 5th grade class coming up. So that makes me really excited. Our first is Cooper Paulus from Menden Center. Cooper, can you stand up? And Cooper, you were nominated by Miss Clayton, Mr. Albano, Miss Egan, Mrs. Mayer, and Mrs. Stewart. And how sharp does Cooper look? He is guaranteed to win the Masters. Cooper has received overwhelming support for this recognition from his current teachers, his past teachers, and building administrators. He is a quiet and unassuming leader who is a role model not only for his classmates, but for his younger peers as well. Cooper can be counted on to do the right thing even when he's not being asked. On one occasion, after band rehearsal, he was about to get on the bus, but turned back to head to the auditorium. When asked if he forgot something, he responded that he was going back to help a friend carry and lift his percussion instrument onto the bus. As it turns out, he voluntarily helps his friend get onto the bus every day after rehearsal. Cooper would never think to ask for praise or credit for his efforts, yet he continually does things that make the difference in the lives of others better. Another example is on the playground during recess, where Cooper is inclusive and equally kind to all of his classmates. He is the first to check in with a friend after a fall, or the first to hand off the ball to give a classmate a chance to lead in a game. He excels in athletics, yet he doesn't have to be the star during any game during recess. Cooper demonstrates sportsmanship, cooperation, and cares about the success of others. In the classroom, Cooper is the first to help other students. When a new student joined the class this year, Cooper went out of his way to make that friend feel comfortable. He invited his new classmate to play games at choice time and to talk during snack time. Additionally, Cooper demonstrates a genuine love of learning and gives his personal best each and every day. He brings insight and thoughtfulness to group discussions, and he's eager to learn about new topics. Cooper is also an avid reader, and he enjoys the recommendations given to him by our school librarians. Each summer during our new family orientations, we invite model MCE students to serve as ambassadors for new students. This is a responsibility Cooper took seriously, and he volunteered his time in the summer to help new students to acclimate to life at Menden Center. Cooper skillfully balances a busy schedule with his schoolwork and always makes time for others. Even when passing his younger siblings in the halls at Mendon Center, he always shares some sort of loving gesture, like a high five or a hug. You need to talk to my older sons, please, Cooper. We have been so fortunate to have Cooper at Mendon Center, and we appreciate his empathy and his leadership. Congratulations, Cooper. Our next fifth grader is from Thornell Road Elementary School, and that is Molly Wenger. Hi, Molly. And you were nominated by Mrs. Erot, Mrs. Izzo, and Mr. DeBell. Living the Thornell Road way means being respectful, responsible, fair, trustworthy, and caring, even when no one is watching. Molly is an amazing example and role model of all these qualities. She always shows compassion towards her peers, leadership in the classroom, and constantly challenges herself academically. Molly would be a most worthy recipient of the Pittsford Pride Good Citizenship Award. As a student council secretary, member of our student welcome team for new families, participant in our Girls on the Run Club, member of chorus, band, Girl Scouts, and Eco Stars Club, Molly is a very active person in our school community. She is cheerful, she is reliable, she's dependable, and she leads by example. In the classroom, she goes out of her way to make sure everyone feels welcome, everyone feels heard, and everyone feels respected. She works well with everyone, is an extremely hard worker, and always puts forth her best effort with a smile. Molly is a pillar of our school community, and her positive attitude is contagious. When you meet Molly, you will immediately appreciate her sincerity, her thoughtfulness, and her creativity. She has a genuine interest in helping and including others while always having fun. She brings joy and happiness to others around her. Molly has a great sense of humor and a positive outlook. She loves to be challenged and is appropriately competitive. She embraces the spirit of teamwork and a growth mindset. While she is always willing to share her thoughts and ideas, Molly also listens thoughtfully as others speak and share their ideas too. Through her writing and through her artwork, Molly's creativity, passion, ideas, and values are beautifully expressed through poetry, drawings, and designs. She loves to read and eagerly dives into new books. She is naturally drawn to literature and storytelling. Molly is a caring big sister. Recently, her younger sister, Colleen, was in a cast. Are you Colleen? Are you feeling better? For a time, she used a wheelchair and she used crutches. Molly would help her sister at arrival and at dismissal and during the school day. She wanted to be sure her sister was comfortable and had all of her belongings. Molly's caring approach is also shared with her kitten, Louie. We are so proud of all the ways Molly lives the Thornell Roadway and models for others what it means to be an outstanding citizen of our school community. She has made our school a better place for everyone. Congratulations, Molly. And our last recipient for the evening, fifth grader from Allen Creek, we have Victoria Yao. Hi, Victoria. Victoria, you were nominated by Mrs. Cushman, Mrs. Milne, Mr. Juzwiak, and Mrs. Roberts. There is not a day during the school year that Victoria does not demonstrate all of the qualities and behaviors that any teacher would love to have in their students. Victoria has an attitude toward learning that is infectious. She possesses empathy, integrity, diligence, perseverance, and a love for learning that is unparalleled. As an Allen Creek student, Victoria is part of the Instructional Challenge Literature Group. She's part of orchestra and works with the primary students in a second grade classroom during her recess time. And she does this weekly. She has participated in Safety Patrol, as well as the Student Council President for the 2021-2022 school year, as voted by her peer representatives. Victoria has dutifully fulfilled her responsibility as the president. She willingly leads any initiative for Student Council. She has displayed true leadership abilities. When elections were being announced, Victoria, without hesitation, sincerely provided condolences to her contemporary that had also run for the president position. Victoria is a dependable member of not only Student Council, but also the classroom community, who goes above and beyond in her role as president and student. Victoria exhibits terrific leadership skills and sets a wonderful example of citizenship for the other students. Her peers appreciate her reliability and her dependability. Victoria is a consistent, reliable friend to all of her classmates. On several occasions, Victoria has initiated conflict resolution with peers in small group settings in a thoughtful and productive manner. Victoria is an enthusiastic learner who arrives at school every day ready to embrace new challenges with a positive attitude. She displays excellent characteristics when faced with particularly difficult challenges, and she maintains an appropriate balance between working independently and seeking teacher support. Victoria is always ready for instruction and willing to receive recommendations. Victoria has been an asset to not only her fifth grade classmates, but also to the Allen Creek School community. Each day has been a pleasure to work with her, and she has continued to amaze us with her outstanding work ethic, collaboration, inquiry, empathy, and self-discipline. On behalf of her fifth grade teachers, Mrs. Roberts, Mr. Druzwiak, Mrs. Milne, and myself, we unanimously, without any reservations, believe Victoria truly exemplifies the Pittsford Pride Citizenship Award. Congratulations. Boy, when you think about all those comments, it makes you feel a lot better, right? It really gives you hope. It makes you feel that sense of pride, which is why we call this evening Pittsford Pride. So what I'd like to do is just ask again for all of our recipients to internalize how much love and adoration and respect the people in this room have for you and the people that couldn't make it here, and know that we hold you up here because of all that you do on a daily basis. So if we could, give everyone a round of applause. Over on this table, you have a plaque. So if all of our recipients in a minute can find their plaque, you also have your nominated letter that is in a sheet protector. So grab the sheet protector and your plaque, and then you're going to come behind the Board of Education. You're going to give your best smile, and we're going to take a ton of photos. Does that sound okay? All right, let's do that right now.
Okay, welcome back. With that, we are going to start our public budget hearing, and we'll start off with Superintendent Pirro.
I would just ask that we find a way to bottle that emotion after Pittsford Pride. It's real easy, and it's amazing to me how much of what we focus on are the things that aren't going well. That we are able to take the time to celebrate the things that are going well, and for our administrators and families and students to come this evening and celebrate the positives together is just very heartwarming, to say the least. So, Assistant Superintendent Kenny and myself are going to take you through the budget hearing. The purpose for this evening is to provide the community with a summary of our 22-23 adopted proposed budget in a format required by law, supplemented with a clear and concise summary of the final budget. Tonight, the budget should afford our community current levels of programs and services for the projected enrollment, with emphasis on post-pandemic student needs. And there's been many. Costs were adjusted for factors such as collective bargaining agreements, inflation, and trends. What you have in front of you implements our best understanding and projections of associated revenues and supports using historical data and forecasting, the New York State enacted budget and related state aid, and supplemental federal stimulus funds separate and beyond the general fund budget to be used over the next 2 years as applicable by law. This year we present a budget that is within the tax cap at 2.53%. That will not be exceeded. The budget and related programs and services appropriations are balanced with estimated revenues. I feel like I've shared these a lot during the budget season. So I'm not going to go over everything individually, knowing that this is going to be, again, on our website. But we do have a district planning team who, under the board's direction, is charged with creating guidelines in the January-ish timeline to bring them back to the board for feedback and go back to the district planning team to establish guidelines for our priorities relative to the budget. One of the things that we have not shied away from over the years is to make sure that our budget is a student-based budget. You'll see that as Darren presents, specific to our percentage of funds that go to our programming for our students. When I look at all of these bullets, what I'm thinking about are looking at every student and how different each student are or is, and how best to accommodate 5,700 different needs in our district. So looking at this from a whole child perspective and what that entails. We know that as an organization we need to continue to grow. We need to focus on best practices. Just like in any profession where individuals are successful, we need to stay with the times or ahead of the times. We need to be leaders in different areas. So a focus on high quality professional learning is critical in all of these areas. We also recognize how different the times are right now from even back to when we started this process in January. We have a CPI that's I believe going to be officially changing tomorrow, but it's beyond 8%. And we have a tax cap at 2.53%. So we have this balancing act, again, of trying to meet the varied needs of our community and our students during a time when we have increased costs, and weighing that against making sure that we're not exceeding the tax cap in order to be sensitive to limited community resources. Each budget year is not in isolation. We have to think about our budgets relative to longevity. In other words, we don't want to do something this year that in 2 years is going to harm us or put us in any type of fiscal hardship. So every year we plan with an eye to the future. We have a lot that entails. We maintain healthy reserve accounts. So anytime we want to put money in or take money out, we have to think about the impact on our future. Our auditors, our comptrollers reports all share how honorable we have monitored our reserve accounts. We also have the highest level bond rating, which certainly pays dividends down the road as we look to borrow money for capital projects. Schools are no different than houses in our own homes. And unfortunately, and this is a true story, we had 2 appliances go, one yesterday and one today. Coincidentally, my college son had come home a couple days ago, so I'm wondering the correlation. But the cost of those repairs and those parts are going to be higher than they were a year ago. The cost of running school is going to be higher than they were a year ago. But the cost of neglecting our facilities would be tenfold down the road. So thinking about how we manage our infrastructure is critical, which is why we have a small capital project that will be underway shortly, with our eyes towards another capital project, which will both help with our leveling of our debt service and making sure our facilities get the attention that they need. And lastly, we have to meet our legal obligations and contractual obligations anytime we create our budget. And thinking about the cost-value analysis of anything, when we're asking taxpayers to pay for something, we want to make sure that that's a quality product that they're paying for. This is some of our pretty amazing statistics as far as outcomes. We have, coming off the heels of 100% graduation rate, 94% of our graduates are college-bound. We have commended and finalists relative to the National Merit Scholarships, which are very high. 401 advanced placement scholars. All of our schools are recognized either locally, countywide, statewide, nationally, or all of the above for a lot of different things. And it's something we all should be proud of. When we talked about a student-first budget, I shared with you programs is a big part that you can see in our budget. So over 3/4 of our costs intentionally are for student programs. And that you can see play out in enrichment opportunities for our students. You can see that in the variety of classes that are offered for our students, the variety of AP courses that are offered to our students, new courses that we approve, the clubs, leadership activities, intramural programs. We do our best to keep our students engaged in all of that. And then you have the plus. You have the arts, you have the interscholastic athletics, and doing that in a way that's fiscally responsible. Moody's Investor Services actually quoted, the district is financially healthy due to prudent conservative financial management. That's something that we take great pride in creating a budget annually. So we hope to see a statement like that every time we propose a budget to the community. We've also done a lot to try to keep our promises during unprecedented times. And most of this is on here, to be quite frank. This is a very loaded slide. It's not best practice for PowerPoint, but it's here for our website. But we have a lot different, a lot new that we're contending with, given everything that we've worked through specific to the pandemic. So looking a lot more at social emotional needs that we're seeing manifest in a lot of different ways across all 9 of our buildings, which is the same for every single school district across the state. We also are doing our very best intentionally to address learning gaps, which vary across students and across buildings. We've made a lot of adjustments to the budget because of the era or the short period that we're in, adding teaching and related staff based on sectioning or class breaks, adding and addressing students with special needs, and addressing student support services in ways that BOCES could no longer supply. Some of that means that we're feeling the staffing issue across the state and county. So things that we used to rely on BOCES to do, or other consultants or contractors or third parties, they don't have the staff to do them, which means we're doing more with less staff and not necessarily more resources. So as we look to the next year's budget and beyond, new challenges add compound budget complexity and stress our sustainability. So we're looking at things like staffing shortages. We're looking at negotiating with many different bargaining units. We have supply chain shortages, increased costs on virtually everything. We have a CPI approaching 3 times the property tax cap, if not close to exceeding it. And then we have the impact of economic factors on the local community. Tonight's budget comprises full support of returning to 100% to face-to-face instruction again, represents a 3.94% increase to commit to full-time face-to-face instruction, and the proven flexibility to change plans to the environment as needed. We have a state aid increase of $2.7 million, which is one of the first times I can share a number like that, which is a real positive thing for us. Our budget is supported by a 2.53% tax cap, and that levy increase and implementation of the legislator's bold step to address a long time of being underfunded is helping us move forward in providing the programs that we feel are responsible for our students next year and to our community. Our financial position places us on a strong foundation to endure the implications of a lot of what I shared, along with New York State's budget uncertainty. Our goal is to provide for the usual while being flexible and nimble to prepare for what we currently do not know. So I'm going to ask Assistant Superintendent Kenny to come up and take us through some of the other legal requirements specific to the hearing. I also want to thank you and your department for all your work leading up to tonight.
Good evening. After the Pittsford Pride, I almost regret having to do this to you, but here we go. I won't be covering every single little thing. There's a lot on here that are for the website for those that may not have been in attendance. I'm going to start out with looking at the budget from what's called object of expense, according to the New York State Uniform System of Accounts. Salaries and benefits, I put at the top because we're definitely a people business. About 78% of our budget is expended on the people, if you will. Coincidentally this year, if you look at the lines below that, they basically wash each other out. So those two top line salaries and benefits are the driver for the increase, almost to within a couple of $1,000s. Moving on to what we're required to do for tonight. Back in 1998, the state required what they call a 3-part budget. The intent was for our districts to try to present in a format that was similar, as well as report that to the state so the databases could have some comparative data without as much conjecture or interpretation. It worked in many aspects, and there's still some nuances in others. So moving right along, the 3 main buckets, if you will, for the 3-part budget are administrative, program, and capital. So administration is basically the oversight and governance function of the district. Basically anything that's not directly involving contact with the kids or providing instruction to students. The program is the converse. That's what's actually touching the students, and probably the biggest thing I always remind people that is in there that they always forget is transportation is part of that component. Capital is what Mike just got done talking about as far as maintaining our facilities, operations and maintenance, utilities, things of that nature. So looking at a little bit of history here, the program component, which is the yellow bars, we're actually steadily increasing slowly. We're up to over 75%, almost 76. Looking at other districts throughout the state, or even in Monroe County area, I've seen numbers as low as 56%. The average is right in the high 60% range. So we definitely channel a lot into our programs. Conversely, our administrative component is pretty low. It's below 10% and stable, actually declining slightly. So next I'll go into each one of these three component areas and drill down a little deeper into what they comprise. So starting with the administrative component, this is the three main components, and the program is driving most of the increase, and makes sense because that is where the money is. The administrative component, that entails basically the main offices and the people within the main offices in the school buildings, special education office, office of instruction, student services, et cetera, superintendent's office. And the support services areas, personnel or human resources, finance, technology, public communications, et cetera, Board of Education and the superintendent, and then the benefits that are associated with those departments. So you can see some trend information there, both graphically and the numbers for each one. If you look at the administration as a whole, we are about a 4.3% averaging, or excuse me, 2.5% averaging 3.2 for that period of time. Program component, this is what we're here for. This is what we heard a little bit with everybody here. This is the instruction side, including athletics. Some of the drivers here for the increase, if you recall, back in the fall, we added some additional positions based on enrollment and sectioning, mostly impacting the elementary and middle school level. That's addressed in here. That's addressing some programs and personnel to address learning gaps, behavior, social, emotional, et cetera. And then tied to that would be, on the far right side, would be the benefits associated with those people. The capital component is operations and maintenance. And one of the big stories there, just like we're all experiencing, utilities are not any cheaper. And so the supply chain issues, we're having a hard time getting parts to repair things like univents or the air conditioning that you hear running right now. Even if we can obtain the parts, it takes quite a while to get them. Calkins Road is more than 15 years old now. The year I started working here was the year that we opened it, or the following year we opened it up. Debt service, we actually have a decrease in our debt service, as well as I want to remind you that the first round of debt associated with that large capital project we did when Calkins Road was built, we will make our final payment this year during the 2022-23 year. So that's the three-part budget. Now we'll move on to how we're going to pay for the budget, and we have 4 years of history there along with our estimated. So the property tax levy is estimated to be a $2.7 million increase, or $111.8 million. It's 2.53%, and that is within the property tax cap. So we will not be seeking an override or a 60% supermajority. Our state aid is $2.7 million increase. That's largely due to the foundation aid increase because of the state trying to catch up or bring us up to being fully annually funded, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Sales tax has been doing well the last few years, so we've adjusted that each year. A lot of that is due to the online sales are now collecting sales tax. And you see at the very bottom there, we're decreasing our reliance on the fund balance and reserves because of looking ahead and looking at things like the federal stimulus money, which is supplemental to the general fund budget, but because of that going away, and also being concerned with what's going on with the economy, whether the state can continue to afford to fund their commitment to fully fund foundation aid. We're saving that for another day rather than using that money to increase the budget further. Quick synopsis on the foundation aid. Couple of charts here. The one on the right, the red bars indicate if the foundation aid, if we had received what we were supposed to get per formula, we would get the red bars. The blue is what we actually received. You see a trough there in the early years. Those of you who've been around for a while, you might remember things like the deficit reduction assessment and gap elimination adjustment. That's when the state basically said, we can't afford to pay you what we've been paying you, which we know wasn't enough, what we should have been paying you anyway, but now we have formulas to take even more away. So we have that little trough there. And then in the last 3 years, the state trying to make measures to get us back up to 100% funded. The chart below shows what that percentage is. A couple of years ago, we were about receiving 54% of what we were supposed to. We're now up to about 76%. So think about it similar to a mortgage. You have a certain payment you're supposed to be making. You haven't been making your full payment, so obviously you're falling behind on what you owe on the house. The state likes to say, we're fully funding you, or we're moving you towards fully funding. What that really means is you're trying to get to the point where you're making your full payment each month, but that doesn't mean you've paid off the full amount of your debt. And this chart goes to show that. When you look at it cumulatively over the years, we have received 56% of what we should have received. And that totals up to $101 million, basically, that's in arrears to the district. So think about what that could have done over the last 15, 16 years to help control the tax levy. The not so pleasant discussion, but I get this question a lot: what happens if the budget is defeated? The Board of Education has a couple of options available to them. They may go out with another vote, maximum of one more vote, and within a specified time, and that budget can be lower, higher, the exact same budget. You have all kinds of flexibility there. Your other option is you can go straight to what's called a contingent budget, but you have to go to a contingent budget after a second budget defeat. A contingent budget, prior to the property tax cap, especially during these times of a high CPI, was a much better formula because it was basically 102% of your CPI that you could actually increase your budget. Contingent budget is no longer based on the spending plan, it's based on the tax levy. You can't have any increase to the tax levy. You basically can do what you want with the budget with a couple of caveats. You can't you have community use of the school facilities if there's a cost to doing so, and you cannot have equipment in the budget unless it's for the health and safety of the facilities and students. So bottom line, you have to have a 0% or zero tax levy increase. So in our case, we're looking at about $2.7 million reduction, and that varies depending on certain decisions that you would have to make at that time. So kind of trying to summarize it here, the proposed spending plan, which is what the voters will be voting on, $149,598,788. It's almost a $5.7 million increase, or 3.94%. The tax levy, the reason I split it up like this is quite often I'm asked, why is the tax levy increase more than 2%? 2% is just one factor in an 8-step formula. So, for example, the debt service that we talked about, the net portion, which is the debt payments minus the building aid that we receive, that they call that the local portion. The voters have already approved that when they approved a capital project. So that stays in there regardless of what happens. So that's why I split that out. So we're looking at $111,900,000, I'm going to round it off, for the tax levy, which is 2.53% increase. Because it's within the tax cap, we do not need a supermajority. So here's what you'll see when you go to the polls. And as far as the actual language, the voters are voting on the spending plan of $149.6 million. We do have two additional propositions. I'll go through them here. One is what we normally do is the bus purchase reserve. Reserve is another way, or the state's legal term for a savings account. So we are asking the voters if we can please take $1,578,000 out of that savings account to buy 12 buses, 11 full-size, one 30-passenger bus. And we're going to trade in 20 buses. So we're actually going to downsize the fleet by 8 buses. And we anticipate that it's going to be a little over $1 million that we'll receive in transportation aid on this, and that money will be used to go back into the reserve/savings account so that it's there for use in the future. We just updated that number today because the new transportation aid ratio numbers came out today. All of our buses that we are trading in are 10 years or 100,000 miles or more on them. So this is the actual proposition. Again, please do not confuse where, like some districts around us are asking the voters to either issue debt to purchase their buses, or they're asking to increase the tax levy to purchase their buses. We are not. We're just asking to withdraw from the savings account to pay for the buses. Similarly, we have another capital reserve fund proposition for instructional technology for the second phase of the one-to-one computer devices. $725,000 we would like to withdraw to do the next phase for the devices and the related infrastructure and software. Again, it's not issuing debt or issuing additional tax to do so. And it will generate BOCES aid, and that aid will help to replenish the funds so that we can stay on top of the replacement plan for these devices. So some fast facts, as we just heard, this budget was developed with the expectation that school will be in person as we were this past year. We've enhanced some programs based on needs that have emerged through the pandemic and through this past year. We still have to be able to be flexible throughout the year and into the future. It's within the property tax cap. And what the legislature and the governor did with the foundation aid over the next, well, it started last year, it'd be for the 2022-23 year, and one more year after that, trying to get us to the 100% annual funding will be significant help to try to get there. Our increase in spending is 3.9%, and the property tax levy is within the cap at 2.53. And based on the data throughout the county, we are either at the average on both of those numbers or slightly below most of the districts in the county. So we're getting near the end of the calendar of what's left to do. On May 17th is the actual vote here at Barker Road Middle School gym. If people would like to receive a absentee ballot, they need to do an application, and they can get one from that nice lady right there, Deborah Carpenter, board clerk. You see the eligibility requirements there. You can also get more information on our website. There's a link right on the main page, and everything we've done with the budget development for this year, and there's also an archive from previous years. You can go in and get that information. So with that, I'll turn it over to questions.
Anyone have questions? I know. By the time we get to this point, we've heard and asked all that we needed to hear. So thank you so much for the presentation, Darren and Superintendent Pira. I appreciate it. If there are no questions, we don't need board action. Nope. Okay. All right. Thank you. Moving on to the approval of minutes from April 26th. I know Ted and Pete have to abstain, so those of us who can vote. And second from Jeff. All in favor? It was Robin and Jeff. Yeah. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Board of Education reports, there's not a lot to see here. The only thing that we have coming up, which is below, is our annual meeting for Monroe County School Board, so I'll just mention it now. If you are planning to attend that, if you could just let Deb know, and she can RSVP. Going on to other meeting reports, we do have a report out from Robin and Sarah on our LOFT conference that we attended recently.
Yes, on April 28th, Sarah, Amy, Darren, and I attended the Monroe County School District Board Association Spring Law Conference. Topics included personnel issues, civil service and negotiations, school board issues comprising FOIL requests, public comment period and curriculum, student issues, student discipline and student issues, transgender student accommodations, and Title IX. The civil service presenters gave an overview of the administration, including classification, examination, certificate of eligible lists, job titles, descriptions, the rule of three, etc. Of note, this system has been in place since 1883, and over 1,939 school districts are included. Key learning is that the civil service oversees classified positions, those that are classified by the county civil service agency, and include teacher aides, secretarial, clerical, bus drivers, custodians, occupational therapists, physical therapists, and school nurses. And unclassified positions certified by the Commissioner of Education. For example, teachers, teaching assistants, and administrators. Competitive class titles are filled through an examination that ascertains, quote, the relative merit and fitness, unquote, of each candidate. Of note, the exam scores are valid for not less than 1 year and no more than 4 years. From the exam process, a certified list of eligible is composed and used for hiring. In this scenario, the top 3 scores may be reached for appointment. There was much feedback about the challenges and sometimes limitations of the certified eligible list. Even job descriptions can be dated from the Civil Service Commission. From an equity lens, this system poses barriers to entry. Some entities may have access to study guides, or there are fees to sit for an exam. This discussion evolved into a suggestion that NICSPA and NISPA create a position paper on needed improvements and challenges facing school districts in using our antiquated civil service hiring model. We also had a presentation on student issues, transgender student accommodations, and Title IX. We were asked to go back to our individual districts to make sure that our individual district policies are aligned with recommended accommodations for transgender students. With that, our 7551 anti-harassment, anti-discrimination in the district students policy was updated in 2020, and our 7552 student gender identity was updated in 2022. Thank you. Sarah?
Thank you, Robin. I can be heard here. Yeah, just to add to that, we really found that it was applicable to all the public schools in Monroe County. One segment in particular was focused on student discipline. They noted a few things. Just the number of superintendent hearings across the county has increased drastically this year. They offered a couple of reasons to why that might be. Carryover from the pandemic and the remote learning is unleashed now that they're back in school full-time. The current national and world stage of politics, riots, et cetera, is also a likely contributor to that. So teachers, counselors, and administrators are working diligently to address the student handling of peer conflicts. And although the secondary students may not have needed this reinforcement pre-COVID, there's a higher need now to reaffirm the best practices in conflict resolution. So many districts are working through that process right now to reaffirm the best practices there. There's also an emphasis statewide on restorative practices at all levels, which we've recently updated our code of conduct and incorporated the restorative practices in there. So they're seeing that across the county and across the state, and hoping to, continue with that, increasing those restorative practices. They also stressed the importance of having the updated code of conduct and that it be user-friendly to everyone. So it was really helpful to hear the attorney's perspective on what they're seeing, to know where we kind of sit in that as far as the county and then the state. And it helps us to really stay ahead of the challenges that everyone else is facing, that we're facing ourselves, and to learn from how others are handling it. So it was a really great conference, very relevant to our work right now this year.
I can just share that some of the feedback from that conference was we needed more time because it really was so all-encompassing with issues that not only the county are facing, but the nation is facing. So it was very robust. I can only hope that our next law conference will be as robust, which I anticipate that it will be, but a lot of information and great information that can be shared, across the table. So it's fantastic. Thank you for attending, both of you. And Darren, thank you for being there as well. Okay. Dates to remember. The 12th, we have a board visit and tour at Mendon High School. If I could just have a show of hands who plans to be in attendance. I think that's everybody. Briefly? Okay. All right. And that's on the 12th. The 17th is our school district budget vote and school board election. And that's from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. at Barker Road Middle School gym. Our next scheduled board meeting is the 24th of May. And as I already mentioned, the 25th of May is the Monroe County School Board annual meeting. We do need an approval of the annual vote and poll workers, so may I have a motion for that? I have Renee and Pete. Any questions there? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Financial report, Darren.
Thank you. The Treasury Report for March, we received almost $8 million in state aid. So that was good news for us because getting from November to May, or excuse me, March can be a long time between when we collect our taxes and get the state aid numbers. Moving on to the school lunch fund, we actually finished the month to the positive side at $71,000. I do want to draw your attention because it might look a little confusing. If you recall back last March, because the fund was having financial difficulties due to the hybrid model, we transferred money from fund balance to help out the fund. So that's why you see that big increase there. So when you compare that to the year before, we had a pretty substantial deficit in the school lunch fund due to that. You will be seeing at year end the federal stimulus money. We're allowed to use that money for this type of purpose, so we're using that money to bring that money back to the general fund and make it whole. Okay.
Great. May I have a motion, please? Thanks, Ted and Sarah. Questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. Next is the third quarter extra classroom activity report. It's good to see a little bit more activity, obviously, than the year before, but we're not quite to where we were, say, 2 or 3 years ago. I didn't see any anomalies. We have started our preliminary audit, or I shouldn't say we, the independent audit firm has started their preliminary audit of the accounts.
Okay, may I have a motion, please? Pete, Renee, questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay. Next is a budget transfer request so that we can, E-rate is basically a refund process, but we have to upfront the money. So we are asking to use $297,000 of unexpended year-end money to buy these services through BOCES. Basically, the way that works is the BOCES aid will come in first, and that's roughly about 65%, and then E-rate will pay for 40% of that balance. So when all is said and done, it's costing net cost of about 20-21%, somewhere in that range.
May I have a motion, please? Thanks, Jeff and Sarah. Questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay. Next is our tennis courts at both Southern High School and big time at Mendon High School. They're having some significant issues. Mendon High School has a drainage problem underneath it, but to rip them out and rebuild them, I'm being told, especially in this current bidding climate, the most recent school district that did it, they received a price of $185,000 per court. And when you're talking 10 courts, that's a capital project in and of itself. So we're proposing to resurface the courts, paint them, clean them, et cetera, to help us get by for a few years until this large capital project that we're rebuilding. So
$162,000 is this contract. And just so those who may have heard this in the past, AstroTurf is now the owner of what used to be called Nagel. Nagel used to do all our tennis courts, and they're on the New York State contract bid, so we don't have to bid this work.
May I have a motion? Thanks, Pete. Sarah? Questions? So you mentioned, how many years will that last, roughly?
We're figuring 5 or 6 years,
Okay.
so.
Yeah, it's better than a couple. Okay.
I mean, it's not going to be perfectly smooth, you know, for US Open type thing, but it's going to be a lot better than the issues that we're currently having.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Next, we're asking if we can take a zero-turn lawnmower to the Teetsworth auction and declare it as scrap in accordance with your board policy, 5410.
I had to look up a zero-turn mower, but I found it.
They're fun.
May I have a motion, please? Ted, Robin, questions? I can answer them for you. I'm just kidding. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
And sticking with the same vein, Barker Road Middle School fitness equipment, they have 3 pieces of equipment that are beyond useful life, and we're not able to get parts to repair them. So we would like to declare them as scrap so we can get them out of the room, and next time we do the auction of surplus equipment, we'll sell them.
May I have a motion, please? Renee and Sarah, questions? We saw the pictures. They were very telling. Yes. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
I'm sure the gym teachers will cry. Next is the tax tertiary reserve, and I apologize for some reason a rough draft got put into the board packet. That's our fault. But what this is, every year we need to take a look at what the outstanding litigation is on the various challenges. And every 3 years we're required to update. So if a settlement has not happened within 3 years, we need to update it. So this is just reflecting the various cases that are at hand and what we need to do. So we're asking to take $1.2 million from unused or the unappropriated fund balance, and transfer it to this reserve. So in the future, when there is a settlement, there's money there to be able to pay.
May I have a motion? Pete and Renee, questions?
So just so I understand this right, this is suggesting that we feel that the potential exists for an increase.
Is your thing on?
This is suggesting that we foresee the potential increase in need of 1.2 million.
Right.
Okay.
Each one, there's 4 different cases at hand here. So one of them actually we're projecting, based on the latest information from the attorneys, a decrease.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a new one that came about this year, so that's just under $1.2 million.
Okay, thank you.
May I have a motion? Thanks, Jeff. And Sarah? Oh, we already did? Oh, it was the discussion, sorry. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
So that's 2.4 million now, right? Okay, and I think I'm finally done.
You are finished. I don't see anything else. Okay, Human Resource Report. Sean?
Good evening. First, for your consideration, we have the professional staff report. You'll see 2 psychologist intern appointments, 1 school-related professional appointment, 1 change in position for supervisory technical, 1 teacher resignation, 2 SRP resignations, 1 psychologist intern resignation, and then termination of positions for our 6 spring teacher fellows, which is part of our normal process. We'll welcome a new batch in the fall.
Okay. May I have a motion, please? Thanks, Renee and Ted. Questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. Next for your consideration is the support staff report. We have 3 clerical appointments, 1 bus attendant appointment, 1 bus driver appointment, 2 custodial appointments, 1 custodial resignation. We have 1 maintenance resignation for retirement with 30.7 years of service, and 1 food service worker resignation.
May I have a motion? Thanks, Robin. And Pete, questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. That transportation loss is going to be a big one.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And finally, we have a first reading for teacher tenure.
Yes. Thanks, Sean. Special education, Elizabeth.
Committee on Special Education and Preschool Special Education recommendations on the consent.
Thank you. Superintendent's report. Mike.
Thank you. There is a need for an executive session this evening. Part 1 is to discuss current litigation, and Part 2 is to discuss the employment of a particular person.
May I have a motion, please? Sarah? Jeff? All in favor? Is that a yes? Okay. Opposed? Motion carried.
And I just want to note one thing on the consent agenda. You'll see policy 1220, and this was going through for the your approval without going through 2 readings, because it was a minor edit that we would like to make to that particular policy. Within that policy, there's 11 sub-bullets under the category of nomination and election of board members. So the only change is to bullet F, which stated at least 10 days prior to the election, the board shall appoint at least 1 inspector and 1 clerk of election for each voting machine. The revised language replaces the 10 days prior to election with the language of no later than the last board meeting. Everything else within the policy stays the same, and everything within that sentence stays the same. The rationale for this change is really due in large part due to the COVID impact on securing polling workers. Again, just like everything else, we need a little bit more time to secure people. And the other part that's just more practical is also the timing of when our board meetings are, to make sure that we have some flexibility there. The change allows for more flexibility of adhering to our policy, given the workforce challenges, and when board meetings land prior to an election varies each year. So that's the only change to that policy. Are there any questions? Again, it's just a small edit. Yeah. Okay, thank you. May, I thought I would just talk about May for a second. My guess is if you asked any administrator or teacher or possibly parent what the toughest month is, often the response is May. Every year when we come back from April break, we have one of the longest stints without a day off for our students, and at the same time, we have a lot going on with our students. And to be quite frank, annually, year after year after year, what we see is that May tends to cause a range of emotions for students, for parents, and for staff. Between when we come back from break till the end of this month, some of the things that our students and staff and parents and community feel are as follows. We have New York State assessments. We have socials and different types of celebrations at the elementary schools. We have information nights at our secondary schools. We have many, many concerts. We have fun nights. We have the budget vote. We have board elections. We have retirement ceremonies. We have tenure ceremonies. We have advanced placement tests for primarily our high school students. We have fine arts festivals. We have high school awards ceremonies. We have sectionals. We have college acceptances and denials. We have prom. We have SATs. And we have a lot more. So it's often the cumulative factor of these events, along with each individual's experience of the school year leading up to these events, that can cause stress, excitement, frustration, and joy. And sometimes any given person may experience all those emotions during the month of May. So I ask that we do our best to be good neighbors, to be good colleagues, to be good peers, and good parents, and check in with one another. 2 of our core values relate to being student-centered and having a supportive environment for all. So again, as parents, I ask that you check in with your children. Colleagues, I ask that you help those that are trying to reconcile retirement or thinking about it. I would ask that we go out of our way to congratulate and support those that are getting tenure. I would ask that we seek out our children that are going through a hard time, that are struggling. And this is a time I feel that for our community, we really need to strive to be positive and to be encouraging to all. Again, especially not knowing how other people are doing. Sometimes you just can't see what people are feeling or contending with. So I ask us to be positive in our communications, be positive in our posts, in our social media, that we're encouraging students, our neighbors, and colleagues to all do the same. We have a lot to celebrate. We have a lot to appreciate. We have a lot to be proud of. So please, this is for our community, meaning our students, our staff, our parents, our residents. I just ask you to do your best to spread positivity in one of our historically most challenging months, coming off of historically one of our most challenging times. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Thanks, Pete and Renee. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Old business? New business? Public comment? I have one write-in submission. I don't have anything from the floor. Did you fill out an index card? No. If you could just fill out an index card with your name and address and whatever topic you wish to discuss, and then you can hand it to Nancy at the end of our table. Okay. So I'll start with the write-in submission received from Tegan Rathfelder at 345 French Road. I'm sorry I was unable to attend tonight, but will be sure to watch the recording. Raised and educated to be a radical leftist, I know the theories, the language, and the tactics which are embedded in everyday behavior and conversations to ensure the work is always being done. These same divisive strategies were deployed last month by a small group of parents in the name of inclusion during a PTSA meeting, again on social media in an attempt to silence other parents with very real concerns, and then at a board meeting. This is all intertwined with critical pedagogy, a theoretical framework to view everything through a lens of power dynamics, oppressed versus oppressor in every facet of culture, society, politics, and economics. Its existence relies on conflict, its identity politics, and it leads nowhere good. Saul Alinsky outlines in Rules for Radicals a roadmap to disrupt those perceived power relationships. For the sake of time, I'll paraphrase some of the more pertinent points. Create division and conflict by constructing and enforcing opposing groups. You must agitate to the point of conflict. The end justifies the means, and a good crisis should never go to waste. Have no fixed truths and keep the pressure on. Use all the events of the period for your purpose and clothe it in a moral argument, thereby convincing very well-meaning people to take ugly packages tied with beautiful, righteous bows. Morality becomes a tool, not a compass. And for those who question or resist you, pick a target. Freeze it, personalize it, polarize it. You must understand the point is not inclusion, it's not equality. It is to fundamentally dismantle and destroy what they have identified as an offending power structure, education, law, gender, etc. Last month it was Rainbow Club, but that's not what it is really about. Before that, it was masks, and next time it'll be whatever opportunity happens to present itself. It will never be enough until systems like schools and you, the Board of Education, are destroyed. If Rainbow Club were really about the kids, there would have been no discussion by the facilitators to sneak the books into another book club and libraries. The readings would be age and content appropriate, not purposely controversial. They would not attempt to target and shame parents with questions into silence. That's because it's about activism and disruption, not advocacy or inclusion. Okay, I think at that point we have the gist of what the message was, so I'm going to read the public comment from the gentleman on the floor, and this is from David Mook from 10 Brackenberry, if you'd like to.
May I?
Right over here to this
sure.
microphone in front of us.
Yeah, that's a lot right there, what you just read. So I have a much more modest set of proposals.
Okay.
I'm a little overwhelmed by that one. But that said, I do want to mention a couple things. So first of all, I really applaud this group, and I applaud your openness and willingness to discuss things. I'm an old salt. I've got 3 older kids that have been through the school system, done very well, all successful. So just a couple points I want to raise, though. I celebrate the diversity and the equity that we're talking about, the inclusion, 100%. I also want to just say that talking to the kids in my neighborhood, which I do a lot, including my own, but beyond that, a lot of them, there's a little to that, a nugget in there that we can take away, which is that a lot of them are really afraid to voice how they really feel in the schools. And I would like us to just be aware of that, that in fact we should celebrate diversity, as we say we do, by allowing the kids to have a difference of opinion. And you know, the country was founded on debate, respectful debate, and that's what we should be encouraging here. And I think we're trying. Too often I'm seeing, though, and hearing this, I'm seeing more than once, or I wouldn't be standing here. I think they're afraid to voice opinions that don't go lockstep with what that person was saying. I don't feel anything like that to that degree of it. I'm a little troubled by removal of classic authors because I think it's a disservice to the children. I think they should be allowed to discuss Mark Twain or Jules Verne or Chinua Achebe, I'll add him because we read him, Margaret Atwood. These people, they should be made to stretch. The books I'm seeing coming home, and there are very few of them, by the way, are really written at a very low level. I'm really disappointed with them. I'm going to be frank about that. One of the books, Neck Ringer, or whatever it is, Ringer. My kid read that in 5th grade, and he's bringing it home again. I'm going, what's this? So I think we can step up our game a lot, and we can do that without feeling ashamed about it. Just step up our game. I just want us to know that, you know, we're providing equality of opportunity to our kids. It's not really equality of outcome. That's never going to happen. And I'm just going to say, students in other parts of the world, and I have plenty of friends from Spain, Germany, et cetera, they are correctly being taught that they're part of a worldwide competition, essentially, and that in order to succeed, they have to excel. They cannot be mediocre. They cannot just go along with the crowd. They can voice themselves. They can be who they are. And we're seeing that. And that means excelling in mastery of both language and in mathematical and scientific skills. And I would really like us to embrace that. I think that's really critical here. We've actually hired a tutor to teach some of the classic books and to enlarge our child's vocabulary, because the books that are being read here, I'm sorry, but they're really infantile.
Thanks, Mr. Mook.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
Dr.
you.
Mock, and it's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's Mock. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to mispronounce your last name.
Sorry?
I'm sorry that I mispronounced your last name.
Oh, that's quite common. Don't worry.
Sorry about that.
Except among my colleagues and patients.
Well,
They know better.
the next time I'll know better.
That's quite okay.
Okay. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Okay. With that, I think I'll close public comment, and may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And Robin's hand was before you said so moved. So it's Robin and then Ted. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.